We're live.
We're live, yes. Good afternoon and welcome. I have the privilege and pleasure to interview Mo Farah today. It's an absolute honour. I've been a fan for a long, long time. I stand in my kitchen watching you achieve great things. So thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed today. So you've had an incredible career. Obviously, you've had the gold medals and the winning the knighthood or getting the knighthood, and winning ITV's The Cube.
The Cube.
Yes. So out of all of that, what's been the highlight?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was London 2012. Yeah, for sure. And as an athlete and as in our career, whatever we do, you can't get any better than the Olympics. And for me, to have the Olympics right in our doorstep and to have the nation behind you was an unforgettable moment.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I just admire the fact that you challenge yourself even further, because that wasn't enough. All those gold medals, it's not enough. You now run marathons. So what's next?
Yeah, marathon's next. But as I had a long career on the track, and I really enjoyed obviously representing from my country and winning medals, and it got to a stage where I've won everything and I needed a new challenge, and I wanted to try the marathon before it's too late and see if I can become successful in the marathon, which is most people think, oh yeah, he's retired and he's going to take it easy, but I'm actually gone up opposite. And I'm going to be running 26.2 miles, which is quite a long way, and different training, and different training compared to what I was doing on the track. I'm doing far more longer sessions, far more intervals, and I'm on my feet far more longer than as I did.
I think that's quite inspiring, not only for children but for adults as well. So I'm going to see if I can follow in your footsteps. So what's your first impression of school? I know that you arrived at the age of 8 to the UK.
Yeah.
So what was your first impression of, in fact, what was your education before you came to the UK, and then what was your first impression when you arrived in the UK?
I was actually very lucky, and obviously coming to the UK, joining my father, that was the biggest thing for me as a family. Just wanted to reunite, join my father, spend time with him. And growing up in Somalia, I didn't really go to school, and I didn't have much education. As the age of 8, in Somalia, what you do, I studied the Quran, and I was actually madrasa, which they teach you, and I was only going there. I think it was kind of 4 days a week. And that's the only education I had there, but I never really went to school where you interact with kids and you learn different subjects and stuff. So for me, when I first came in the UK, that was the one thing I really wanted to do, is just go to school, and I was excited. I remember going when I first arrived. I lived in Hounslow, near Feltham, West London, and then I went to my first. In year 6, I think that was my first class going into it. And it was quite a big shock, just not speaking a word of English and just chucked in the classroom, and you had to listen and just learn and as you go along. And
it's the experience of many of our children in London, so it's good to hear from you how far you've come. So who was the teacher who made the greatest impression on you, and why? I know you normally quote a particular PE teacher, but is there anybody else?
No, for sure. If it wasn't for my PE teacher, Alan Wilkinson, who spotted me early age as a kid and saw my potential of running what I can do, I wouldn't be here today, and I wouldn't have joined the running club and go on what I have achieved. And I think we do owe all the teachers out there who who are passionate about it, because as a kid, like myself, I've now put in a situation I am in now. If Alan was in that situation, having 4 kids, and you go to work, you finish work, when you finish your last class or whatever you need to do, you need to get home, in order, to see your kids and prepare dinner for them and stuff. And we need teachers like Alan who, spotted me, who loved running and encouraged me, took me to the local club and went out his way. And if it wasn't for him, for sure, I wouldn't be here. And I think, turning around and seeing myself like, if I had a job where, teaching kids and stuff and have family, it would be pretty difficult to be able to go, today, kids, I'm not going to come early. I'm going to take so-and-so to running club and stuff. He didn't have to do that. So, if it wasn't for him, I think it would have been very difficult because I didn't know any better. I was like, I was thinking I was going to be a football player, but no.
I think you underachieved, surely. You wanted to play for Arsenal, didn't you?
I just remember as a kid, like watching matches of the day was huge. Like 10:30, it would come on, and that's all I saw on TV. And all I wanted ever to do is play football. And even in growing up in Somalia, there'd be somewhere TV black and white, and they used to always show football. And for me, it was just football since I was a kid, and you just saw, kids playing football. And so for me, all I ever wanted to do is just play football.
Well, we're glad that you didn't.
Time will tell, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I don't think I would have been that good.
It might be the next thing. Who knows?
Nah, listen.
So,
I'm just saying I'm glad I chose running because.
No, because you're really, really good at it. So thank you. I'm really pleased about what you've said in terms of teachers and how they go the extra mile. Because we are in a state at the moment where we have many teachers leaving the profession, many teachers who are or people, potential teachers deciding not to go into the profession. So thank you for recognising the efforts of teachers. Can we give teachers a big clap, please? So I know that we've all watched you race and run long distances over the years, competing at a world-class level. Sometimes you take a fall, you get up, and then you win. How do you do that?
No, you have to be lucky. I was lucky actually, and also when you prepare so much and so much hard work goes into it, you have to get up. You have no choice. You have to get up. You're not going to go. I spent last 6 months, training this hard and haven't seen my family 3 months. Still haven't seen my kids. You have no choice. All that work you've done, you ain't going to throw it away, are you? You had to get up. I had to get up. And it's just, having a strong mind and believe in yourself and you can do it.
You talked, I had the privilege of watching you at GESF Live.
Yeah.
And you and Vladimir Klitschko spoke about that there's something inside of you. And you spoke very clearly about your challenges and how those challenges have spurred you on. Talk a little bit more about that, because we could all benefit from what you said about that.
Yeah, I'm one of these people who believe that, there'll be many challenges in our lives, no matter what we do, from a kid. And for me, obviously, I was very grateful that I came to Britain and made it work. But at the same time, it wasn't always as smooth. And I think having challenges in my younger age, as a kid growing up in Somalia, has made me, think strongly and to be, to have strong-minded and to appreciate stuff and knowing there will be challenges and you can, overcome it. And I look at it now as I see my kids and stuff, and I want them to be, to fight and to do it. But nowadays, obviously, in Britain and where I grew up, I look at them and it's different. It's different. You can't teach them. You just, you make it work. It's like I had to go to school because that's only school. Like, we're very lucky to have, privileged life and to have the education and to have the support and everything else. And I think kids in generally in Africa or other places are stronger because they're having to deal with. And unless we put them in that situation, we don't know it. It's like, okay, if somebody's I'm about to hit you, and I hit you one time, and then next time it's coming, you know you're going to block. It's the same thing. Unless we know it, then can't do it.
It's very true.
It's true.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's useful. And so you're recognised wherever you go. However, there are times when people don't recognise you as Sir Mo. So tell us about what happened on a recent trip and how that made you feel about the challenges that we still face with equality and diversity.
Sorry, could you?
So I'm going to repeat, and I've phrased this question very carefully, and everybody knows why I'm asking you this. You're recognised wherever you go. However, there are times when people don't recognise you as Sir Mo. So tell us about what happened on a recent trip and how it made you feel about the challenges that we still face in terms of diversity and equality.
I'm very lucky to, and I travel around the world, see many places, visit many countries, and I have a clear understanding of, and it makes you appreciate and makes you, stronger, because if you don't travel, then you don't know any better. And for me, there's a little incident happened in Germany where I was going to a training camp in Addis Ababa, and I went through, cut the story short, I went through security.
No, don't cut it short, it's fine, go ahead.
Sure. Okay. I went through security, and as I go through security, the guy goes, put my hands to the side, you go through the machine, and it comes up it came up yellow. So he was like, okay, I need to check on you. And I had like a hoodie, tracksuit bottom, I had a cap on. So to normal people, I was just like normal person, which is fine. That's how I like to dress. I like to be comfortable and just be myself, which I was. And I went through, and then the security guy tapped on me, and there's nothing there. And then he decided to put his hands between my boxer shorts and my trousers. And I was like, you can't do that. I was like, what are you doing? And I got very upset about it because it wasn't comfortable. And he was like, I'm doing my job. And I was like, and I couldn't believe it. And I stood to the side, and there was an older man and people coming through with a suit on and stuff, and he would just go. And that even made me more angry, and I was like, why did you have to do that to me? Why did you not do it to somebody else? And it's like, do you want to know? And then I was like, I wasn't going to leave. I just stood there going, that's not on. I want to see the manager. And as soon as I said to them, I want to see the manager, they called the police, which was literally it was about 10 meters from there. Called the police, and then the police officer came over, and then he said to me, give me your passport. And I'm like, what's happened? Like, what's the story? Is like, I said, do you know what's going on? And then he was like, give me your passport. I gave him my passport, and he's like, where are you going? And I was like, Addis Ababa. And he's like, where's that? I said, you should know. Anyway, it was just wasn't having it, and I was just like, at that point I was agitated, and I was just angry, and I was just like, I felt like, I was couldn't do anything. And then the police officer was like, go to your gate. And I'm not going to gate, I want to see the manager. And the manager came by, and the manager was like, talk to the police. So it was like, nobody was listening, nobody would want to do it. All I wanted to do is make clear what is the security guy wasn't appropriate, and it's not acceptable for any of us. Anyone. Anyway, he wasn't having that, and they was just like pulling me to the gate. He was pushing me, and I just felt like, before actually he pushed me, I was like, I just need to get this on record. So I went on live on Instagram, and I started recording what was happening. And then I told the officer at that point, he was on live, and you can't do that, and he started pushing me and pulling me, and that was it. And so many people got great support from everybody else. And I think it's important as a human being to stand up for, what's right. And nowadays, it's so many of us, like if someone falling down the street, back in the days, we used to be able to go run to them, help them out. But now we're scared of what's going to happen. Is he going to do something? Am I going to get sued? Am I getting something else? And that's a bit sad to see that. Because as a society, as a human being, we need to stand up for each other, we need to support each other, and we need to encourage one another. And I think the world will go a long way if everybody did that. And I'm one of these people, be, to give back and to be, to support and to do what we love.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing that story, because I know it must have been very difficult for you at
It
the time.
was difficult, and I got a lot of messages and other stuff, and but unless you know the full story, of course we're gonna go quickly we don't know.
Absolutely. And at no point you didn't say, "Do you know who I am?"
No. No, not at all.
Lovely, thank you. And on the rare occasion that your integrity may come into question, we know how you deal with this publicly, but would you mind sharing with us how you deal with it privately? And you know why I'm asking that question.
No, but obviously, as a sportsman, as a man, I love what I do, and it comes with fame and other stuff, and you have to deal with it, and it's important that I'm a role model to so many younger kids to show the right path and showing them what is possible, and I'm very lucky to have a beautiful family, and I have 4 kids, and I do spend time with my children and playing around and just chilling out with them when I'm not running or training. But times it gets a little difficult because of if you've got 4 kids and where you have to go to a restaurant, where you go to certain things, it's just getting them out of the house is difficult as it is.
So is there some mind work that you have to do when your integrity is questioned? Because I know that you will have a public statement that you make, or you will do what you have to do publicly. But in terms of the mind work that you have to do in your head, No?
Not at all. It's what you believe is, it's what I do. As long as you believe in yourself, you believe in your team, and you do the right thing. And that's one thing I do. It's like, I know, no matter what happens, I'm a big believer. I'm brought up as a Muslim, and I know there's something out there. So as long as you believe in that, have your faith and have your iman and believe in yourself, there's nothing else. It's like you don't going to go, I'm going to dress a certain way, or just because I want to please stuff. I do what?
Yeah, that inner belief.
Inner belief, if
Wonderful.
That makes sense.
Thank you. No, it does make a lot of sense. So what inspired you to start the Mo Farah Foundation, and what did the foundation focus on?
So I set up Mo Farah Foundation, it was 2011, and the reason why I set it up is I went to visit, as you know, I was born in Somalia, grew up, and me and my wife and my oldest daughter Rihanna, we went to Somaliland, which is on the north part of Somalia. So we went there, and I went to see my mom, spent time with them, and as I looked around, I saw this orphanage. It was quite basic, and it had the cot, and then it had mattress, and then it had another mattress, and it had a small room, and there was like 5 or 6 kids sleeping there. And I went to see them because obviously I wanted to know what was happening. And immediately as I walked in with my wife and my oldest daughter, was like, it just, as a parent, it really touched me. And I was like, we have to do something. And I remember going back, and my wife and my daughter, and then my daughter would saving up some money and stuff. I'm going to give it to charity, and it changes her, because she didn't know what was out there. So we came back to the UK, and I decided immediately at that point I wanted to set up a charity, and I named the Mo Farah Foundation. Our aim was to be able to help kids, in orphanage. That was the first thing, and I remember I auctioned my fez, running fez I wore. I've got a thing like about $5,000 for it. I was over the moon. Yeah. And then from there, bit the cube, and that was a huge amount, man. It was a quarter of a million.
That's right.
So we had great amount in terms of for the Mo Farah Foundation for coming in, and our aim was to be able to help the kids, and secondly when the famine was going on so badly in south of Somalia, or on the north of Somalia, we set up over 50 water wells.
Wow.
And it's still going till this day.
That's amazing.
And then agriculture, in terms of we gave them, stuff that they can support themselves rather than giving, because in Africa, once you give, and you don't teach them how to do it, it's hard because they depend on that. They want that, and they don't quite understand. So we set them up, and I think the biggest thing is like feel happy and glad what I've done is having that water wells and still to this day to continue on.
Yes. And also you just did a gesture of pride as well. You feel proud?
No, I feel proud because there's kids out there who doesn't know anything. You know, it's just the situation they're in.
No,
they don't have a choice. It's just what it is, and it's important that we recognise that and do support that and encourage them, because as same as me, I might have whatever medals I might have money, but I'm sure they have feelings just like us, and it's important that we recognise that and do something about it, because one person is not going to go, oh, we'll do something, and then we have to stand up for it and do something about it. And you only find out when you have kids for yourself and you see it. And I know, obviously, growing up in Somalia too, my life is just completely changed.
It's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And so we're going to fast forward now.
Yeah.
12 years from now is 2030. So Hussein is going to be taking his GCEs. The twin girls, are going to be starting university. And then Rihanna's going to be working. So what hope do you have for their learning and their employability? How do you prepare them for the world in 2030 and beyond? Big question.
It is a big question.
When you think about your own children, it's a big question.
It's a big question. I look at my daughter, the way she behaves, the way she does something, the way she answers, and you analyse stuff and you look back and go, what was I doing there? Was I that? And maybe I was, but it's important that, you be honest with them and tell them the truth. And I try and be honest with them as much as I can with my kids. And for me, one thing I really wanted to do in my life was have that connection where I had good connection with my mom and dad, which didn't happen for whatever reason. So I try and make it right with my family and try and, support them and be honest with them and encourage them. And I look at her now and I'm like, I just want her to have as much experience as she can and be open to as many challenges to make her stronger and set in the future. And I actually wasn't joking around. I told her, you're going to work in McDonald's. Well, I did that. So you're going to work and understand and appreciate.
Yeah, the value of money.
Value of money and a value of life. Because it's difficult. It's the kids, as a parent, you want to support them, you want to give them stuff. And sometimes, I do spoil them, don't get me wrong, because I'm away and do feel a bit guilty. But at the same time, it's important that, we teach them of life value and principles.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me. As long as my kids are very respectful and understand the value of life, I'll be very happy.
Yeah,
father.
You'll be a good father.
Yeah. I hope.
We all hope to be good parents, don't we? So what inspired you to write the books, Go Mo Go? So Amazon have said that it gets kids reading and running too. So why do you think it's important for children to read and run?
I think it's important for kids to read and to run and do as many exercise, but mainly education is the biggest thing. I never had somebody who, as a kid growing up, I never had somebody who come to the bed or come get a book. My parents never did that, which is I totally understand, because it's different culture, different thing. But it's important that we read to the kids and encourage them and help them out in terms of also in sports. It's not just like a Mo. If they can associate with me running and reading, it's a great way of giving 2 in 1.
Very good. I'm going to have a little look at that. Thank you. And what advice would you give to a young person who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, it depends what age they are. 16, 17, I think that was the hardest for me.
Really?
When I was 16, 17, just because I moved out of my mum's house, so I lived with my aunt, and then my aunt was very strict, so it was like, once I got out, I was like, ooh, uni life, and and I did struggle to make that from going to uni, and then next step. I did struggle a little bit because I was just like, I wanted to do a bit of everything, and then not till later on I realised you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't ride two horses. You can't, because it's not possible. It's one or the other. And, and I'm glad that I made that.
That's good advice, not just for 16, 17-year-olds, but also older people.
Older people.
Yeah.
And I think even for all of us, we just struggle every day to day. Each one of us do sometimes. Oh, Mo's here. He's going to run and he's happy, and it's not just what we see on TV. We are human beings. Yes. We have effects.
Absolutely. So I've had the pleasure of asking lots of questions. I think it's now the opportunity for members of the audience. I think we might have time for maybe 3 or 4 questions. Is that right? And I get to choose. Oh, my goodness. Let us start with this lady over here.
Hi there.
Hello.
First of all, I just want to say, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm a little bit starstruck, so excuse me if I'm sort of grinning like this in the corner. It's an absolute pleasure to listen to your story. You are well established as a sportsman, we all know that, but one of the things that made my ears prick up as a teacher is to hear that you arrived in the UK at age 11 years old with 0 English. Is that correct?
8 years old.
8 years old.
8 years old with 0 English.
0.
Okay. So as a teacher, one of the things that I would like to be better at, and I'd like some tips from you, from your first-hand experience, is to hear how I can help to engage my children who don't have English as a first language.
Yeah, actually, at the time I remember it was very difficult, and I just remember being in the classroom, middle of the classroom, and there's like 14 or 15 kids in the classroom, and you don't understand anything, you don't do nothing. And, so for me, it was like the only way was like sports has helped me, become better and go other places and to understand and interact one or two kids like that I like. And that is scary, I think, for anyone who, come from another country and to go straight in the classroom. So if I could turn back time, and what would I change? Would probably try and get one-on-one. If as much as you can, or give that person a little bit more, or if someone can translate and understand and ask them, because I think at times I was struggling. Now all I wanted to do is talk to somebody, and you couldn't do that. And I think it's important. And if you can't talk to somebody, then that kid might become more, not violent, but more like naughty and stuff, because the only way you can get him out is by him being naughty or being loud or, doing the wrong thing. So as long as we can have that connection and breaking them down and get them talking and maybe have a one-on-one, I think if I could change anything, have more like lessons where you actually just one-on-one, or you have someone who translate for you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Sir.
Good afternoon, Mo. Brilliant presentation you gave earlier today. 2 questions. Number 1, how important are role models, or was a role model for yourself in your life, and how it reflects for the next generation? Where me personally, I've worked with in Birmingham with the Somali youth there. I'm finding more and more that they're losing a person to have as a role model in their lives. So how important do you feel to go forward, especially having a position like yourself where you potentially be one of the best role models for some of the youth out there?
Yeah.
Number 2, you play England versus the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to win?
World Cup? Sorry, what?
England versus the rest of the world in the UNICEF in June.
I'm going to do the mobile and score a goal, right? That's the first one. No pressure.
Yeah.
It's all good cause for UNICEF, so hopefully we can raise a lot of money for it, and we can change people's lives. I'm quite excited when it comes to football.
Yeah.
So going back to it, it's important that in everything we do, it's important that we have a role model, and I think having role model, having somebody who's been there and done it, even for me as growing up as an athlete, you have to have a role model. You have to have somebody who you look up to, somebody you think, he's done it, I can do it, I know it. And you read their book, you do a lot more research, and you run the way that they used to run. And I think it's the same thing as the kids. We need to stand up for more for the kids and encourage them. And now I'm back in the UK for good. I like to be able to go to as many through the Somali community and other community and explain my story and interact with kids, because I think it's important that we show if they work hard and be sensible, and it will come a point where it's going to be challenging, but as long as they come over that, the rewards are great. And for me, I do not regret one moment, you know, because if I look back in my career and go, God, I can't speak a word of English, I'm in this classroom, and then now Sir Majesty the Queen has knighted me, it's like, you can't write. I would never think. I would never ever imagine.
Yeah.
So it's like you look at it. It's like you just have to be positive and you know, keep grafting and working. As long as we can do that, I believe we can become, you know, we can overcome it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, over here, please.
Thank you, Sir Mo. I was at London 2012 in the stadium when you won your gold medal for the 10,000 metres. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I was shouting so much that I lost my voice for a week.
Oh.
The advantage of being there was, of course, we became experts in the Mo Farah running style. So my question actually is, one of the things we looked at was you tend to be at the back when you're running.
Yeah.
So is it because you think it's so easy that you want to set yourself a challenge by being at the back? That's part of the question.
Yeah.
And the other part of our question is that in the plenaries here at GESF, one of the things we're learning about for young people is that they should learn to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
So as a sports person who is competitive,
Mm-hmm.
how do you square that for yourself between being competitive and yet encouraging young people to collaborate with each other?
Yeah, first one, you definitely have to collaborate, as you said. You have to interact. I have to be strong-minded, don't want to see anybody and just work and get competition and do it. And that's what it takes in order for me to win. I have to do that. I have no choice. It's like, I just came from high altitude training now in Addis Ababa. It's 10,000 feet above sea level, which makes it a lot more harder. But in order for me to be successful and to mix with these guys, I have to do that. I have no choice. I have to. And graft.
To share your strategy, because you might want to
Share a little.
Hi, quick question. I'll write for it.
What about some noise, animal noise?
to disrupt the class.
Just disrupt the class or just get a bit of attention because of, like, had nobody.
You're going to make one now?
No, I'm not.
Okay. There was a gentleman here and a lady here.
Sir Mo, with success comes fame and eventually exposure. What do you rely on to keep grasp of reality?
So, what do I keep on relying? Yeah. I think as a sportsman, as you know, it comes with fame. It comes, but you just have to enjoy it. Be yourself. Be encouraging and be true to yourself. I think that's one thing as an athlete and as myself, I like to do. I just want to be me and do what I do. But sometimes it's a little hard. But you just have to make it work. And, you know, the day that you don't become yourself, everything changes.
So my name is Mariam Jam. I'm one of the young global leaders here, and I'm one of the judges for the Global Teacher Prize tonight. So I'm excited that you are here. One of my questions is integration in the UK. especially young Somalian
Yeah.
girls. So I teach girls how to code.
Yeah.
We're now in 58 countries. And I would love you to talk about technology and innovation wherever you are in the world, because we have young girls in the UK who have digital literacy problems and literacy and numeracy issues based on lack of integration. So is it anything you think that you can do to help the Somalian community get into tech and innovation?
Yeah, for sure. I think, as you said, is now I'm back in the UK for good. I like to be able to involve and help the community and help the people out there, and particularly girls. I have 3 girls, so girls are more vulnerable than boys because they're girls, and it's important that we do stand up for them and talk to them and interact with them to understand. Because I'm very lucky, as I said, one thing my mum has taught me as early age is be very adapting, which meant that no matter what country we go, what we do, we've got to be adapting. If you're going to have your own way and go, no, this is how I do it, I don't like talking to people, you ain't going to get far in life, no matter what. Any country we go, any places we go, you've got to be adapting. And that's true. Because it's like, I came to Britain, and it's important that, a country has given you a chance, given you stuff. It's important that you interact, you give back, and you get into kids and you understand what it is. Because why there have to be something in it in order, and as long as we can teach kids at a young age, even the girl, and making them understand that, the better it sets them for life. And I think that's just me being honest.
I know I said that would be the last question, but there is a gentleman in a kilt who is...
Kilt, Scotland. Oh! Why am I? No, it's Newcastle.
Right, first of all, you need to explain your outfit and then your question, please, sir.
And are you wearing anything under it?
Don't care. Careful.
Sorry, I can only answer that to the ladies, and there's a fee for that as well. Sir Mo, nice to meet you. My name is Tariq Ali, obviously from Scotland. We've heard this morning, this conference is obviously about education, but this morning we were hearing about STEM, about technology, AI, robotics. The gentleman was on the stage talking about enhancing human thought. How do you think that what's the implication for that for sports? Obviously there's a big thing about drugs at the moment in sports. Surely if you're enhancing the human body through robotics and such things, that's just cheating as well.
Yeah. With technology, how it's moving so forward is incredible. And I think each sports, as back in the days, 4-minute miling, as a rest in peace, Roger Bannister, who died not long ago. 4-minute miling was just incredible. Now 4-minute miling for me, I'm running end of the races. So technology and in terms of science has improved great deal. And the same thing as I said, yes, is it cheating by me being high altitude training at 10,000 feet above sea level in order for me to work on my red blood cells to have that bit more advanced? No, it's just that technology is things that we can improve. And for what we know, I think we could definitely go further.
I think we could call it marginal gains.
Could you? What then? The other thing is, like, I'm racing against Kenyan Ethiopians. They live at high altitude. I'm at sea level. Is that?
I think I have to ask you. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Yeah.
I know you've been very persistent, so of course, determination.
Yeah, hi, I come from Finland. My question is,
Persevering.
when people become very famous, I mean, they don't become, I know there's a lot of hard work behind. And do you ever feel that you are so much appreciated because what you have succeeded? Or do you think that the people really care who you are, what is your personality? And why I ask this question, I have too many famous athletes, and if they were injured or they retired, they collapse.
Yeah.
So their identity was built on fame, on success. So how you relate with this, or what kind of advices you would give these people who are dreaming of a great successful career, that not this thing would happen, that they really know who they are, and this fame will not, get.
Yeah, for sure.
So can I ask you for a very brief answer to a very long question?
No, it's definitely a great question. And for so many of us, we think, yeah, you're famous. It builds you as who you are and this stuff. And sometimes, like, you've got to forget about that. You just got to be true to yourself and be honest to yourself. And yes, as people, is people gonna love me as much when I retire and 10 years down the line? Yeah, they will still love me, but they're gonna love me the same? Am I gonna can I have your autograph? No, it's reality. You move on and another person comes and that's the world it is. And as long as you understand that and you set yourself in hand and go, that's how it is, and just be me and do what I do. But I think with social media and other stuff, it's not about doing the right thing. It's about what can I get? It's different. And I think as a sportsman, the hardest thing is for you is when you realize it's the hardest thing. It's like when you get injured, that's when your phone goes quiet. You don't hear no more, and that's hard sometimes. But the earlier you realize, the better it is for you later on.
So, Sir Mo, thank you very, very much for answering all of your questions so candidly.
Yeah.
And being so open.
Go on.
And being so lovely.
Yeah. All right. I thought you were going to ask me something else.
No. I really want to thank you for being really real with us today.
No problem.
And but I also want everybody in the audience to wish you a happy birthday for next Friday.
Oh, I'm only going to be 25. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank the audience for being very courteous, but also for the great questions. Yeah. And I could feel the love and adoration from them, just even at the beginning when people wanted to take their photographs with you and all these selfies, and you just being absolutely accommodating. If 100 people had lined up, you'd have done 100 selfies.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
No,
it's been real.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.